Hi, you have tuned into the Aggron channel, and I'm your host, Djingis, and I'm here with our first draft recap of PSL Season 3, and I'm really happy to be able to do this. I did not think I would be able to do this, so it's really nice that I can. Technology is working with me for now at least, so let's hope this continues throughout this video. Today we're gonna look at PSL Summer Conference. Yes, we changed name. We are now the Pokemon Seasonal League with two conferences, Pokemon Summer Conference and Pokemon Winter Conference, which basically means that PSL and PWL are both back into action, which is great. For PSL Summer Conference, they drafted Saturday the 19th at 1 PM EST, and we're looking at the first 6 teams here, not in draft order, but in the order they got announced in the server. So we're going to look at these 6 teams, and after that this video will end and we will look at the upcoming 6 teams in PSL Summer Conference, and then we have another 2 videos covering Winter Conference. So I hope you're okay with this, and I think you have seen some of the teams here already. You have seen the coaches name, the team names, but I will still go over them as I please. First out we have the First up, we have the Chernobyl Dragalgis, coached by Bruno, the returning coach from Season 2. Season 2, he had some unlucky events involving my Regis. We're not going to talk too much about that, but it was a crazy match. I still feel bad for that one. But this is the team that he drafted here. He gone with Landorus, Therian, Cresselia, Empoleon, Kommo-o, Miltank, Crustle, Mega Venusaur, Weavile, Rotom Heat, Florges, Cofagrigus, and Frogadier. Now, the team overall, I really like this team. It has some nice synergy going on. The normal combo of Landorus, Therian, and Mega Venusaur is a very nice one. They work very well together. The only problem is that both of them can be ice weak. Even if Mega Venusaur has to fix that, they are still a bit ice weak, but that works perfectly well after you pick up Empoleon and Cresselia. And for that matter, you have Miltank with Thick Fat, and you don't really care about it anymore. You also have Rotom Heat that just soaks up these ice moves very well. That allows you to have, even a bulky dragon has a problem with ice types moves, but that allows you to have Kommo-o on the team. Not the best dragon out there in my opinion. It's very bulky. It's probably a dragon that I would like to use personally. I just haven't used it yet because I don't really feel like it. I probably should. But the team overall, it has some pretty decent speed tiering as well. You have a base 91, 85, 60, 85, 100, 45, 80, 125, 86, 75, 30, and 97. So it's a very compact team in the speed tiers, and you have a lot of options with Scarfers. You have a lot of options with speed as well. Weavile will have to be brought a lot of the time, I feel like, because it has some offensive pressure that the rest of the team doesn't really have, and it's a great offensive Pokemon for this team in particular. The biggest concern I have for this team is it might be hard for him to get up Stealth Rocks and keep them up. I'm pretty sure, I don't think Crustle gets Rapid Spin, it does not. Which means that he only has Defog, and he has Defog on Empoleon, Rotom Heat, and Florges. All of those are great defoggers. Empoleon, if it had Roost, would be the best defogger in the game in my opinion. Now it doesn't have Roost, so it's a bit worse off. But it's a really good defogger. It's a really good bulky Pokemon. Why am I having Florges up when I talk about Empoleon? But yeah, this is a very interesting Pokemon overall. You can do a lot of things with it. It can be offensive, but it really shines in the defensive duties of the game. And having a Wish Passer in Florges, that will allow Empoleon to live a lot longer and be a lot healthier and a way better wall for a team. Florges, on the other hand, is also a great defogger. Problem is that on this team, Florges will have to run a support set a lot. Something like Moonblast, Toxic, Wish Protect will be the common set on Florges, which means that Defog might not be brought on Florges that often. since you have Empoleon and Rotom Heat for that duty, which means that Florges is a great defog in this team, probably the best defog in this team, since it's not weak to rocks and it has recovery. But it won't be able to run defog a lot of the time because of other monsters on the team lacking recovery, and they need to get that recovery in form of Wish. So it's a good Pokemon to have. It really fits this team very, very well. If we look at the last defog on this team, we have Rotom Heat, weak to rocks, first off. Doesn't have any reliable recovery. It does have Pain Split, but most of all, this is a third Levitator on the team, which is crucial in my opinion. EQ spam is one of the, well, EQ overall is one of the most spammable moves in the game. The other two, in my opinion at least, are Scald and forgot the name. Wow. You have EQ, Scald, and Hurricane. Those are the three most spammable moves in the game. And Rotom Heat take care of Earthquake and Hurricane. Empoleon take care of Scald and Hurricane. Mega Venusaur can take care of EQ and Scald. Miltank can take care of everything if it builds the right way. Florges can take care of Scald and Hurricane, no problem. So you have a very good build around this, and Landorus has no problem it's immune to EQ, so it doesn't really have to bother with that. Same with Cresselia, and Cresselia can also take the other two moves that I mentioned. So it's a very well-rounded team in that regard. Frigadier is one of those tier 5 monsters that you can build a lot around, and you can be very, very glad to have, and it can fill a lot of roles. Only problem is that it's only base 83 special attack, but since it's allowed to have Protean, it's actually a very good Pokemon since it has almost the exact same move pool as Greninja. The only problem is that it can't use its physical moves as well because of that 63 attack, stopping it a lot. But 83 special attack is really, really good on this thing, especially when you combine it with Protean, so it's a good Pokemon to have. Last but not least, the only one we haven't really talked about on this team is Cofagrigus. It's one of the best bulky walls. If you want a wall that can take one hit and status inflict the other Pokemon. If you want a wall that can just eat hits every day, all the time, Cofagrigus is not your Pokemon in that regard, in that sense. Then you want something like Cresselia or Florges that can just eat hits, Mega Venusaur, and this team has those already. But pairing Florges with Cofagrigus is a very nice move in my opinion, because that allows Cofagrigus longevity without having to rely on Pain Split. So this is a really good, all around I really like this team. It's very well rounded, and it has a lot of utility. It might be a bit passive sometimes. I have a feeling it might be a bit passive with Florges, Rotom Heat, Mega Venusaur, Empoleon, and Cresselia. And Crustle as well. I mean, it could be a bit on the passive side, but it's not like it's a very passive team. It can be very offensive if it wants to. So it's all around a very, very good team. Has everything you really need. Maybe another speed tier between 100 and 125 could have been good for this team. But at the same time, it has great Scarfers in Komo-o, which also can run a DD set. You also have a great Scarf in Rotom Heat. And you have a Shell Smasher in Crustle, if I'm not 100% wrong. Yeah, you have a Shell Smasher in Crustle. So you have a good number of things. You also have Agility, I think it is, on Empoleon, and you have Rock Polish on Landorus Therian. So you can actually do a lot of things with speeds on this team, so it's not that big of a concern. But it's a very good team. Next up, we have the Lincolnshire Lugias with Cyan, a Season 1 veteran of the PSL. And this is the team he drafted. Zygarde 50%, Reuniclus, Klefki, Crawdont, Hitmonlee, Haunter, Mega Camerupt, Tapu Bulu, Thundurus, Lickilicky, Lycanroc Dusk, and Ariados. Now, Cyan lost a bet, I think it was, or if he just agreed to letting Wildlife draft his team for him. And this isn't a team that Cyan has drafted himself, but I think it's a team that can actually fit him very well. There are 3 interesting picks on this team that I don't really agree with, but then might be able to work out very well on this team overall. But first out we have a Zygarde. We all know what Zygarde does. It's bulky, it takes hits, and it sets up in your face and destroys you with 1000 arrows. Perfect! And then to pair up with Zygarde, you have Grassy Surge on Tapu Bulu, which means that if you set up the Grassy Surge, go out into Zygarde, you will have 3 turns of free heal on Zygarde with Grassy Surge, and if you are a subset, you can sub up, get 2 turns of Grassy Surge plus leftovers, and you will be back at full health in 3 turns. So it's a very good one. It will allow for free setup in a number of different ways for Zygarde and for other mons on this team. So I really like that pairing of Tapu Bulu and Zygarde. Reuniclus is a mon that fits on every single team. It's not that often you see it doing very well by itself, but on a team like this where it actually has a good number of support mons to make it shine in an offensive role as well as a defensive role, it can be a very hard mon to prep for, because you don't know if it will be an offensive trick room, if it will be a defensive wall, or what it will do really, and it's a scary mon to face. One of the scariest mons to face as well, just because of the bulk and of the regen ability. Other than that, as I said, this is an interesting team. It has web support, it has a Lycanroc Dusk, which can hit really hard, but that base 110 speed makes it just that tad bit worse in my opinion to Lycanroc Midday. I prefer Lycanroc Midday because of that 112 speed, making it faster than Thunderous, for example. So even if you have the priority in Accelerock on Lycanroc Dusk and Midday, you don't really need it that often because you will outspeed the base 110s. And mons above 110s are pretty frail, and then you can kill them with Accelerock. In this case, you will have to rely on Accelerock a lot to kill Scarfers and to get rid of mons faster than base 110 that you speed tie with, and that's a bit of a problem when you have a frail mon to deal with like Lycanroc. It can work, I'm just saying why I prefer Lycanroc Midday over Dusk, if I ever were to draft one. So I don't agree on picking up Lycanroc Dusk. Another one that I don't agree on picking up is Lickilicky. Lickilicky is a good defensive wall for its tearing. It's tier 5, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's a tier 5, it might be a tier 4. And the thing that makes this Pokemon good is because of the Cloud9 ability, which means that you can stop Weather Sweepers. The problem is that you are so slow with Lickilicky that it doesn't really matter, they will still outspeed you. And the only good thing about Lickilicky really is that it is a Wish Passer. Wish, Body Slam, Protect, Toxic is like a very common set and very well used set as well on Lickilicky, but I don't think it will be brought to that many games or even be very good for him. And then the last one I don't agree on picking up is Mega Camerupt. Looking at the stats, I mean, it's a bulky Pokemon, it is, and it has some pretty decent. It can be both specially or physically offensive, but it lacks in the speed tier a lot, and it will be picked off pretty easy due to the quad water weakness. EQ will also do a ton of damage to Camerupt, so it has some big problems with it, and it's a reason it's a very low tier Mega. I don't know too much about it, but I don't think that this is the right mon for the team. I think you could have gotten with a better Mega, and you could have gotten a better Fire or Ground mon instead of drafting Lickilicky and Lycanroc Dusk. I do think that Mega Camerupt can be effectively used on this team due to a Body Slam and Prankster Klefki with Thunder Wave and Webs. You might be able to outspeed things that you wouldn't otherwise, and that might make Mega Camerupt shine a lot. But that's the only positive thing I can really see about drafting a Mega Camerupt. The rest of the team, it's a decent overall. You don't have a good hazard removal outside of Hitmonlee. Klefki might get defog now. I always forget. Yeah, okay. So you have Prankster defog on Klefki. You have Spin on Hitmonlee, and then you have defog on Thunderous. That's all of the defog mons that I know of on this team. I'm pretty sure Tapu Bulu doesn't get it. I don't know why I thought of that. So you have Klefki, Hitmonlee, and Thunderous. Thunderous will never be able to run the the defog, Klefki will most likely be Screen, Spikes, Stealth Rocks, and then you will have to sacrifice either Spikes, or you have Toxic as well, or T-Wave, or so forth. So we'll have a bit of a force move slot syndrome on Klefki if you want to bring defog on it, and Hitmonlee will not be able to come to a lot of matchups, which means that your team will be kind of weak to Stealth Rocks, especially if you have a Haunter, Mega Camerupt, Ariados, Thunderous. That can be a problem early and late on in the games. I hope you can work around it though, but I'm not that sure you will. It might be hard for you to be able to do that. And then we have a pretty interesting pickup as well. It's not often that you see Crawdons getting picked, but whenever you do, it tends to do pretty well. Assault plus Crawdont is a beast. It's very hard to deal with. You have it gets Dragon Dance and it gets Sword Stance, so it has a lot of utility moves that it can use and a lot of setup moves that it can use. So it's nothing to sleep on, especially not in web support. So I think this is a hidden gem on this team thanks to the web support and the Prankster, Thunderwave on Klefki, and I do think you have Prankster as well. So double Prankster T-Wave from Klefki and Thunderous might make Crawdont a very scary mon to deal with, even if it doesn't run SD or Dragon Dance for that matter. That's it for Science Team. And now we're gonna go over to another Season 1 veteran of the PSL. We have the Lancaster Ladias with Mimikyu as their coach. Mimikyu is here for the third time in 3 seasons, and he has changed his name, so his team name. So he's now the Lancaster Latias. And this is a scary team in my opinion. It has a lot of utility, a lot of offense, a lot of defense, but it lacks just a tiny bit to be really useful in my opinion. Zeraora, great pickup in my opinion, works very well with Celesteela as you can see later up, but you have Zeraora, Hydreigon, Silvally, Slurpuff, Mudstale, Passimian, Mega Blastoise, Celesteela, Entei, Azelf, Sceptile and Swellow. I like the team when you just look at it, but then you have 4 months that just looks like, why are they even here on this team? Mudstale doesn't fit the team at all in my opinion. You would be better off with another ground type. Passimian is a bad tier 5 pickup in my opinion. Sceptile is not that good unless you have a niche for it. I mean, pretty sure it has Unburden, but it's already 120 speed, so you don't really need Unburden. It would be better if it had Moxie or something that you would be able to use its attack stat as well as its special attack stat. And then I have no clue why Silvally is on this team. The only reason I can think of is that he wants to parting shot out into Zeraora, into Hydreigon, Entei, Swellow, and just be able to nuke something on the switch. Defog option as well maybe, but yeah, that's about it really. As I said, Zeraora fits very well with Celesteela. It also works very well with Swellow. Can be very useful together with Hydreigon as well. If you want an offensive pairing, because they take care of different things and they work very well as core. And if your offensive core then is supported with Slurpuff and Entei, you have a very good offensive core. But the defensive side of the team is good, but it lacks a bit. To have the defensive core of Mega Blastoise and Celesteela is great. It's perfection in my opinion. That's one of the best defensive cores you can get in the game. Only thing that would be better would be something like Celesteela, Milotic, Mega Venusaur, but that's more or less impossible to get. So having Mega Blastoise and Celesteela is fantastic. A hidden gem this team is Slurpuff. Everyone always looks like, okay, Slurpuff, it is a threat, but it's not that big of a threat. You can always deal with its belly drum and blah 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 blah. But unless you have a good steel type or a good poison type, it will be very hard to deal with Slurpuff, and that will be very easily shown in games, especially if you can use it correctly. And I'm pretty sure that Mimikyu will be able to use it correctly. Other than that, I don't really have a ton to say on this team. It might be a bit rock weak, but you have Defog on Hydreigon, you have Defog on Silvally, You have Rapid Spin and Mega Blastoise, so you should be fine, theoretically, and I think you have Defogun Swallow as well, so you should be fine, theoretically. But I'm not so sure that the team will be good if you just allow the opponent to set up Stealth Rocks every single time, and you will have to switch in and out a lot with U-Turn, Hydreigon, Volt Switch, Zeraora, Parting Shot, Silvally, Simeon has something if I'm not wrong. Self has U-Turn, Swallow has U-Turn. So this team is you can switch a lot on this team, and Stealth will be a very hard threat to that and stop this team very easily. And not having a good defogger then is a bit of a problem. Mega Blastoise will have to be a Rapid Spinner most of the time, and that will hinder Mega Blastoise a lot because it will be forced to be run in a defensive spot on the team. And even as the team is right now, Mega Blastoise is forced into a defensive spot. And even if it can work very well on it, in that type of a role, it really shines when it gets the bulky offensive type of roles. Like, if you're modest max special attack, you will hit like a truck, and not a lot of things can switch into this thing. But since you are forced more or less to run it physically defensive or specially defensive, depending on what you run Celesteela as, you will have a problem. And the only thing that stops Celesteela and Mega Blastoise to get completely wrecked is Mudsdale. And Mudsdale is not that good of a Pokemon because you will be forced to run Assault Vest a lot of the time just to be able to soak up hits a bit better. And Assault Vest on Mudsdale is not that good, and you will always try and find something else to run on it, but most of the time you will come back to run the Assault Vest. That's a bit of a problem. So it's a good team, but it lacks a bit in the defensive department compared to the other teams in this conference. And that will actually be a big problem for this team overall. Then we have another returning coach from Season 1 and 2. We have Triple Threat and his new team, the New England Evolutions. He has Dragonite, Milotic, Incineroar, Sarina, Chuckle, Kangaskhan, Mega Medicham, Mamoswine, Doublade, Sylveon, Dragalge, and Raichu. Defensively, wow. It's so good defensively. Offensively, not as good. The webs from Shuckle will be very helpful for this team. It will allow Dragonite to be able to run Adamant a lot often, and it will actually force Dragonite. Well, it won't force Dragonite to run the Dragon Dance set or subset or something like that, and it can actually be a very good offensive threat to the teams. Milotic and Incineroar Sarina works extremely well as a defensive core that fits very tightly and can work together in a very good way. And then you have the Doublade and Sylveon as support defensive mons for those three. And you have yourself a very solid defensive core. But then you look at the offensive aspect of the team. And outside of Mega Medicham, Mamoswine, and Dragonite, you don't really have a lot of offensive pressure on teams. Due to Dragalge being so slow, and Earthquake actually being a problem for this team. Milotic can take them, no problem, Sarina can take them, but Incineroar, Chuckle, Mega Medicham, Doublade, and Dragalge, Raichu, they hate them. They hate DQs and all other ground moves, and that would be a big problem for this team, put a lot of pressure on Sarina and Incineroar. And if you don't have an EQ on the other team and they have an Earth Power Mon instead, you will have to rely on Milotic a lot. And Sylveon as well. I mean, it's a bit of a problem for this team to fit all of the... You need 3 or 4 offensive mons each week for this team to work, but then you need at least 4 defensive mons to support the offensive mons. And I just can't see how we can make this team build very well together and make it fit for every single matchup. He has the possibilities and he has the options for every match, but he will have a hard time actually deciding if he wants to have a defensive core or offensive core with support defensive mons. The best thing about this team is that it has 3 Wishers in Kangaskhan, Sylveon, and Raichu. That's extremely good for the team. Then it has Milotic as a defensive wall, Incineroar with Intimidate, which works fantastically well on this team. But yeah, it's not the most offensive mons, and you also have a very big problem with speed. Because here we have a base 80 Pokemon in Dragonite, and that is your, well, base 81 here. I thought actually my Milotic was slower than the Dragonite. Never mind then, but base 81 is your fastest Pokemon until we come up to Kangaskhan, which is base 90, and then base 100, and then base 80, and it goes down again. And then you have Raichu's base 10. It's a very slow team, and it should, well, thanks to the web support in Chuckle, you will be able to do a lot with the team. The big problem is that you are relying too much on Chuckle to make the offensive mons very good in this matchup. And you will have to be forced to either bring Chuckle every game or bring a speed option every time. And priority on the team is no big problem. Since you have Dragonite, you have perfect... Dragonite and Mamoswine has perfect priority, and same with Mega Medicham and Doublade. So you're fine in that regard. But you will have a hard time actually making the team fit together when you build. That's just the feeling I get when looking at it. And you will have to rely a lot on Milotic and Serena to be able to make this team work. Sylveon is always good to have, but on this team, if it wasn't for Wish, I don't think it would have fit that well to this team. But yeah, that's my thought on this team. It's pretty decent. It's not a bad team. It's just that I don't see it working if I drafted it. I wouldn't be able to use the team, and that's the method of thought behind my comments on the team. It's just based on my playstyle and how I like to play. So if you think this is a perfect team for you, Triple, more power to you, and I hope and wish the best for you, because I want to face you in the playoffs. I really do. Then we have a returning Season 2 coach, the Baltimore Blasters, and Coach Dave. Dave last season went undefeated during the main season and lost in the first rounds of playoffs. So he's back looking for revenge, and it will be so nice to see him actually pull it off. And this is the team that I think he will thrive upon. Latios, Suicune, Jolteon, Uxie, Gligar, Sableye, Mega Scizor, Amoonguss, Alola Ninetales, Greninja, Ember, and Linoone. Screens with Amoonguss, Mega Scizor, Uxie, Gligar, Sableye. I mean, the book Suicune behind screens. I mean, it's not screens, it's veil really with Alola Ninetales. But I mean, how are you gonna break down this team? It's impossible. Like, from a defensive point of view, this is more or less the perfect draft you can do. If you want to have defensive mons and you want them to survive as long as possible, Alola Ninetales fits so well on that type of teams. And then you have the offensive mons as well with Latios, Jolteon, Mega Scizor is very offensive even if it's more defensive in most teams, Greninja and Ember. You also have Belly Drum, Linoone, you have a lot of priority, you have a lot of fast mons, and it just works so well together. This is one of my absolute favorite teams that got drafted, and I don't have anything bad to say about it. Maybe, just maybe, that Gligar isn't the right mon on this team, but you needed another defogger behind Mega Scizor because Latios will never run defog on this team. So between Gligar and Mega Scizor, you had to have another defogger, and Gligar fits perfectly there, especially since you needed a ground one as well. Only thing that I'm a bit concerned about is a good offensive Psychic type with coverage for Amoonguss, Suicune, and Mega Scizor. If it has coverage for those three mons, it would be very, very hard for your team to deal with. And of course, Mew is the first thing that would pop to your mind. You also have Uniclus, could be a very big problem for this team. Maybe not for Mega Scizor since it's outspeeding it. But since Uniclus can run Trick Room, it will be very hard for this team to deal with that threat of Uniclus. Latias would be a big problem. Mega Latios and Mega Latias might be a big problem. I don't remember if they were drafted or not, but they are a pretty big problem as well. And just to make this sure, so you all know, this is Torrent Greninja, Protean is banned, and Battle Bond is banned. So this is just normal Greninja with Torrent. And I'm just gonna say this right away. The base speeds are really good in my opinion. Base 110, base 85, 130, 95, 85, 50, but with Prankster. 75 with priority. 30 because it's an Amoonguss, it's very bulky, should be very slow. Alola Ninetales at base 109, Greninja 122, Emboar at 65, but it can do so much so it doesn't really worry about the 65 speed, and especially if you have Emboar behind Feel, it's very very scary to deal with. And then you have Linoon base 100 with priority after Belly Drum. Wow. I mean, it's a good team overall. I'm not gonna say more than that. It's one of the best teams I've seen drafted in the PSL ever. And it might be that you will find it too passive when you actually play with it, between Sableye, Uxie, Gligar and Amoonguss. But I see no problem for this team not to make... I mean, there's nothing on this team that says that you will not make playoffs this season. And I am so sure that I will place you top 4 with this team. Around top 4, top 5, this team should be up there when the season is done. If it's not, then I either misvalue the team or something happened that you couldn't, like something like hacks happened that you couldn't foreseen. But yeah, it's a very nice team. It's very good overall. And then we have the last team of today. We have, well, for this video at least, we have the Cleveland Breloom with Wildlife. Wildlife coming back from last season, and this team is a combination of being very very scary and almost laughable. That's the best way that I can put it. You have Kyurem Black, Necrozma, Toxapex, Swampert, Comfey, Houndoom, Megamanectric, Tornadus, Therian, Cobalion, Tangrowth, Aerodactyl, and Beware. And beware of this team if you look at Kyurem Black, Necrozma, Megamanectric, Tornadus, and Tangrowth. Those are the 5 main threats on this team. I have no reason why Toxapex and Swampert are on the same team. I have no reason why Houndoom is on this team at all. I don't understand why Cobalion is here either. Like, there were better monsters out there than Cobalion and Houndoom and Comfey. You could have gotten a better pick, better value mons. And for me, I would never gone Toxapex Swampert in tier 3. I would have gone with something else and picked up Jellicent as the bulky water. Like, there's some... I think that Wildlife can do very well with this team. It's not that. It's more like... I don't see how it can make the team unique every single week. He will have to bring Kyurem Black, Necrozma, Megamanectric Tornadus almost every week. And Tangrowth will be there almost every week as well. And between Kyurem Black, Necrozma, Megamanectric and Tornadus, you can make a perfect rain team. A very good rain team. And then you have nothing really to make sure it works. I mean, you have the offense in Kyurem Black, Necrozma, Megamanectric, Tornadus. You have a defense in Tangrowth, and Tornadus, Necrozma, Kyurem Black can also be very defensive. You have an Intimidate used in Megamanectric. And then I just look at the rest of the mons, and I can't really see how the team fits together, melts together. I'm no fan of Toxapex. I'm no fan of having Swampert together with Toxapex. Comfey it's a decent Pokemon. It's a great pickup in my opinion. It gives some speed and it gives some priority as well. Thanks to the triage ability. Can be very hard to deal with if it is a call mindset. So it's not a bad mon to have, but Houndoom, I mean, I see no reason for Houndoom to come at all since you have Megamanectric and Tornadus. At all, it shouldn't be here. You could have gotten something more valuable in tier 5 in my opinion. Cobalion, sure, it's steel fighting type and it has Volt Switch, and it's pretty defensive and it has a decent speed tier as well for the team. And it makes it will make it a bit harder for other teams to prep, since speed tiers might be a bit strange to deal with. But I don't see Cobalion doing a whole lot for this team. Aerodactyl, I can like Aerodactyl in this team. If I'm not wrong, it has Defog. Yeah, it has Defog now, so that is good utility to have. It doesn't have U-turn though, and that's a big minus. because it's so fast that you really wanted to have U-turns so you can get mons in for free and so forth. What I'm not a fan of is having Tornadus and Aerodactyl on the same team. So yeah, I mean, like, part of this team is so damn scary to deal with, and if you set up Rain, nothing can really stop it. And then you look at the rest of the team and you're just like, what the fuck is this? Why? I mean, it's... Yeah, I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. But I can't see this team doing very well, because it doesn't have a lot of viability overall. And I know they got sniped on one that you really wanted instead of Toxapex. I'm pretty sure it was Vaporeon that you got sniped off. But I don't see you, even with Vaporeon and Swampert, be better off than your Toxapex and Swampert. They're doing pretty much the same thing. There aren't a big difference in the total value of the mons. Of course, Vaporeon is 1,000 times better than Toxapex or Swampert. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see this team being worth it in the long run. It might be a playoff contender, but I don't think so due to the very... how shall I put this? Due to the very low possible versatility and variation of the teams you can build. You can always throw in Beware or Houndoom or Comfy like in the last slot, but you will have Mega Manectric, Necrozma, Kyurem Black and Tornadus Therian coming more or less every single week, and that will make it so much easier for your opponent to prep. But with that, this is our 6 teams for this division, for this portion of the conference. And with that, I'm gonna leave you here. And I'm gonna actually pop off to school and then record more tomorrow, I think. My plan is to get up another PSL summer conference the same day. I don't think that will happen now. And I will try and get up the winter as fast as possible as well. My plan is to get everything done by Sunday. I don't think that will be doable, but I will try. So with that said, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.